The pinch yourself moments for Ipswich Town fans continued midweek with a comeback victory against Premier League Wolves in the League Cup. Can the run continue on the road to Huddersfield? This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast discussing Ipswich Town up and up and up and up and up since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and this is the Prematch Show brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We're here every weekend or ahead of every weekend game to give you the lowdown on Town's opponents. Join us live on YouTube or available on demand afterwards on podcast. And joining me, as always, to cast his expert eye over Town's opposition is Seb Brown, or at least he's digging up the research. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. I seem to sit here every week and you ask me how I am, and it just gets better and better being a Town fan, doesn't it? It's just so easy. It's brilliant. I've been reading an article downstairs in The Athletic all about, are we the best side to watch in the country at the moment? It's just, yeah. We thought last season was good. This season's just gone up another level, and yeah, these are the days.
We'll talk about Wolves and the cup draw against Fulham shortly. We're obviously here mostly to talk about Huddersfield on Saturday, so we'll get to that as well. But we are live. We will say hello to folks. Andrew, for one, is looking forward to this one. Let us know, Andrew, is there a specific reason apart from the fact that everything is going swimmingly at the moment? Do let us know. Evening to Mark, evening to Charlie. Bluey, is this fun ever going to end? We hope not. Don't wake me up. Michael, morning from Brisbane. I know it's early days, but how good is our team? And how far can it go? That's what everyone keeps asking. Charlie, it gets better and better. What's the commentary? What's that from? It keeps getting better and better.
Better and better, yeah.
I can't think. Tell us in the chat. Out there.
Yeah. Is it Michael Owen? I think it's the Michael Owen hat-trick against Germany.
Yes, it's John Watson against Germany.
It's the 5-1 in Germany, yeah.
Great memory. That's good stuff. Evening to Colin is here. Evening to Matt. Isn't life wonderful at the moment? Definitely. Charlie, plenty of press coverage as well, which I don't remember for a long time. If you just before coming on air, a Telegram group was sharing a very salty article in the Pink, and who are obviously very worried. So yeah, whether that's press coverage or journalism or just trolling and clickbaity, we don't know. But yeah, good to see everyone boarding the hype train. Some of us have been there for a while. Evening to Tony, looking for a refund for my season ticket, just not enough excitement. I can commend to you the Ryder Cup with Tony this weekend, which I'm sure will be very exciting. Paul Saunders, what a time to be alive. FPL is with us as well. Yeah, Paul's here. Town Life. I think that's Jules. Evening to Jules. He's changed his name there. Chris, hello from New Zealand. A lovely place, lovely part of the world. Have you ever been to New Zealand, Seb? Ever gone to the Southern Hemisphere?
I haven't, no, not that far. Then you went, didn't you? Go on a gap year or something, or a travelling year?
Yeah, a couple of times to New Zealand. Yeah, heartily recommend it. Good to have you with us, Chris. Evening to Steve. AD is here as well. Rando 123. All getting a bit silly now, isn't it? Yeah. Sam is with us. Yeah, everyone's very excited and very happy, Seb. Well, let's continue the happy chat as I continue to go through the messages from folks in the live chat. Thanks, Steve, for flagging. Yeah, I was on Gab Sutton's EFL debate last night, Seb, and the Wi-Fi cut out for the first time ever.
Yours or Gab's?
My Wi-Fi cut out.
Oh,
my router.
No. Brilliant.
So if I disappear, then you know that Seb is, Seb's capable, isn't he?
If you disappear, I can't. I'm not an admin. I can't close the chat, so it just stays like this forever and ever. Yeah. Please come back.
That was a bit of a joke there. For the folk on the podcast wouldn't have seen that one, but yeah. So check that out. Also check out Dave. He was on Naked Footy this week. Similarly buoyant mood. And to get GB in buoyant mood takes a hell of a lot. So yeah, good stuff there for Dave and Naked Footy. Should we just talk about Fulham and the draw now, Seb? I'll quickly. Haven't talked obviously in the pod about Wolves yet. There was a point in that first half, and I don't know if you were able to follow the game because they don't stream it, which is nuts, by the way.
It's stupid. Yeah, why can't I watch? It's 2023. Why, as a fan who can't get to the game, why can't I watch it?
Let's do this properly. for long-standing viewers of the pre-match show, you'll know what that theme is for. Seb, Football Room 101, what are you putting in there right now?
Why do Carabao not want people to have eyes on the product they're delivering? It's really, really stupid. Being a Town fan away from the Suffolk area, I couldn't go there, obviously, and there was no way to watch it, I believe. I guess I could have tried to work out a way to watch it in a different country, but I'm no good at that kind of stuff. So, yeah, really frustrating. Why don't they have a
Stupid.
match on
Let's call it what
Sky
it is.
with a red button and let us all watch it? It's stupid.
Yeah, it is. Stupid is the word for it. Not only from Carabao's perspective, because you'd want your brand to be out there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. The banners all around the side of the stadium. Carabao can use it as a massive marketing exercise, and they probably got fairly decent coverage for it. It just seems really stupid. If they clearly got Sky must have the rights because they showed the Newcastle Man City game. Fair enough. So just do a red button for the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly right. We were sat. I went with Dave, and I took my brother-in-law Tom, who's a Col U fan, and his dad, who I think is a little bit of a Col U fan, maybe not as hardcore as Tom, and a bit of care in the community there. They've obviously had a bit of a miserable couple of years, so I thought I'd show them what it was like. But there was a big camera gantry, not gantry, like the crow's nest or whatever, with a big camera swinging around in it. You kind of think, well, someone's watching this game somewhere. It can't just be for the highlights. So figure it out, League Cup. It's just nonsense.
Sort it out. Yeah.
Sort it out. But Seb, my brother-in-law and his dad and Dave and I watched a really frenetic opening 10 minutes, and you kind of thought, oh wow, this is real stuff now. We've kind of had the step up from Championship the last few weeks, haven't we? And we've seen Leeds kind of be quite merciless about their clinical finishing. We saw a little bit of it, to be fair, from Blackburn too, didn't we? But Wolves 2-0 up within a few minutes, and you kind of think, wow, this could be, let's keep the score down and see what we can do. That was kind of my word to Dave. But suddenly, Seb, this team just doesn't know when it's beat. It's crazy.
Exactly right. This team does. Marcus Harness, I watched his interview after the event, and he said, "Yeah, we don't know when we beat." I guess a few people in the crowd probably thought we might be in for a bit of a long night here, 2-0 down against a Premier League side. Albeit they made a load of changes, but you've still got some really, really experienced international players in that side. And yeah, we seem to just respond to anything that's thrown in our way at the moment. And yeah, I mean, great goals all round to get us back in the game. I think equalising by half-time was important, wasn't it? 2-0 down relatively early on. The 2 goals pulled back before half-time kind of make it a real constant in the second half. And my God, that Jack Taylor goal, I must have watched that 20 or 30 times since Tuesday night. It's an absolute, what a hit.
Yeah. Have you seen a better goal? I mean, you sadly you weren't there
against Leighton Baines is one that always gets referred to, doesn't it? The one in the 2004 Christmas 2004 game where we go top of the league by beating Wigan. But yeah, from a Town player point of view, the passing before it, the hit, we had discussions in our Blue Monday WhatsApp group about terminal velocity, trying to work out, at what point did it hit its maximum speed and stuff. It was just a hell of a strike, an amazing hit by Taylor, and yeah, shame I couldn't watch it. Thanks, Carabao.
Yeah, screw you, Carabao. No, I didn't mean that. We love you. No, worth noting as well. There was, as much as Wolves made 10 changes, there was still Boubacar Traore, their number 6, who I quite like, 10 million quid. Johnny Otto, winger, I think it might have been fullback that night, 80 million quid. Hwang, the striker who scored the first goal, 30 million quid. Kalashnic, the forward who kind of ran a bit like Miles Kenlock, he cost them 50 million quid. So they started off the bench. They had Nori, who's 10 million quid, Cunha, 34 million quid, Fabio Silva, 35 million quid, and João Gomez, 15 million quid. So to quote a Mick McCarthy, which is obviously a nice coincidence given it was Wolves, no mugs. This is a Premier League squad. I know they're under transition, and Gary O'Neill has had his things to say after the game, but let's not underestimate that this is Ipswich's second string. We'll talk more specifically about one player in a second because Rob's talked about him, but just the context of that win, Seb, the style of it coming from behind, the 2-goal deficit, Wolves seemingly looked like they were going to run away with it, and to turn it around and to be pretty comfortable second half as well. It just speaks volumes of what this team is doing right now, doesn't it? I know we generally don't read into preseason friendlies and we don't try to read too much into League Cup games, but actually the fact that all of these second string players or fringe players, if we're to be fair to them, Elkan Baggett came in as well, George Edmondson came in, to put in that kind of performance really speaks volumes of what we're doing right now, isn't it?
It does. It shows the unity throughout the squad. It shows the excellence of the coaching, that you've got players who are maybe playing 90 minutes once every 4 or 5 weeks. The moment can come in and, okay, dodgy opening, 10, 12 minutes maybe, but after that, get straight back into their stride. And what I really loved was after the game, the Harness interview, he came out, didn't he, and said, we've done that one now. The job now is to support the boys going into the weekend game. That those players know they're not going to probably start at the McAlpine on Saturday, but they'll be in and around the squad, and therefore it's vital that they can kind of contribute when they're called upon, and look forward and prepare to the game against Fulham in the next round. It just shows, this season we've faced, established Championship sides, we've faced 2 parachute sides, we've now faced reserves of an established Premier League side, who you just reeled off the values of their kind of reserve squad. And no matter at the moment what is in our way, McKenna and the coaching and the squad just seem to be able to rise to the occasion. And it's just, we spoke about it at the start of the show. The guys have spoken about it in the chat. To be a Town fan right now is absolutely exceptional, because no matter what is put in front of us, we answer, we deliver.
No fear, no fear. Rob's put, what's happened to Harness? Well, Harness is working very hard. Excellent when he came on Saturday, and then 3 assists Tuesday night. Good to see. I mean, this is, again, we bemoaned maybe the Pizza Cup last season and all that kind of stuff. That tournament really isn't going to give a huge amount of useful minutes for league action, but the League Cup certainly is. The opposition certainly is, and Harness really took his opportunity. I mean, he himself kind of suggested that the assist for the third is probably a little bit, tenuous, given it's just a sideways pass. But the assist for the first goal for Hutchinson, round just inside his man, Hutchinson puts the afterburners on, was really classy, really like that. And Harness, to me, typifies what you want, hard-working player. He's got to develop a little bit more maybe to become a starter, but he's still contributing, isn't he? And he's got the right attitude, as you say. So to Rob's point, great to see it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a few years ago, you kind of drip squad players in, and maybe they look a little bit disinterested and they don't really get up to speed. But, Harness deserves that reward of those 3 assists for the hard work he puts in Monday to Friday. Okay, he might not feature on the weekend. There were a couple of game weeks he seemed to be the odd man out on the bench with no word of injury. Ladapo as well. He's now got 4 goals for the season, and that's their reward for the great work they're putting in during the week. They're obviously, it's an exceptional bunch. We know that. We know the character of the squad is crucial. McKenna's spoken about that in the past. Ashton's spoken about it in the past. If you can get those right characters into your squad, then you can have nights like this, because that goodwill, that teamwork, that loyalty, that bond kind of manifests itself throughout the entire playing team. And no matter who comes onto the pitch, they're going to be so well drilled, because McKenna's going to have that into them, and their character and their personality and their professionalism means you get results like the other night.
Yeah, a lot of love for Baggett. A lot of love for Edmondson as well. I thought he grew into the game and got stuck in as well. He took a few knocks, and given he's coming back from injuries, I thought that was really important.
And that's great, right? Because he was at fault, wasn't he, for the Reading in the previous round? He gets done on the touchline in the 89th minute, whatever it is, and they scored the equaliser. So brilliant for him to come back in and hopefully, get a good 90 minutes under his belt on his comeback from injury, and get back to that player that we saw a couple of years ago.
Briefly, thoughts on Fulham in the next round? Home draw.
Yeah, hashtag winnable, I think would be the term. They made 7 changes for their game against Norwich in midweek.
What was the score?
2-1.
Do they win? Do they?
Yeah, Fulham. That's why we're playing Fulham. That Fulham beat Norwich 2-1.
Oh, sorry, I'm just labouring the point. Right. Keep going.
Yeah, so it would have been fun to play in Norwich under the lights in a couple of weeks' time. But anyway, Fulham made 7 changes there. Mid-table in the Prem? They're going to have no real designs, I wouldn't have thought, on the League Cup this weekend, this season. Dave spoke, I think maybe Joe spoke about it on the Flagship Show, saying sides at that level kind of almost see the League Cup as a bit of an inconvenience. The Premier League is their be all and end all because of the rewards for staying in the league. So I think they'll make a load of changes. Again, it will still be a very experienced squad. Fulham's reserve side is going to be up there with Wolves' reserve side, but it's winnable. I guess we'll have a few interesting squad selections the deeper we go into the competition, and it's a real chance to. It must be the quarters after this round, is it? Yeah, quarterfinals. So it's a real chance to get into the quarterfinals, and crucially, it's a home game. And I would have loved, Everton away for selfish reasons, Man United away, selfish reasons. But a home game in those 3 game weeks can make all the difference, can't it?
Yeah, McKenna seemed positive in that respect as well. So yeah, home tie will be good. I think Colin said earlier, it should be good numbers as well. So yeah, bring it on. And a lot of Premier League teams drew each other. And Don Goodman did his best, according to the Sunderland fans, to kind of concoct. No, he didn't. So a lot of Premier League teams facing off against each other, which means those Premier League teams won't be going through to the next round as well. So yeah, it does suddenly open up, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could be a very memorable season. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? Before I get too ahead of myself, we've mentioned bits and pieces around. Dave was on Naked Footy. I was on Gab's EFL debate talking about the same kind of stuff. And before we get into Huddersfield, worth noting if you were thinking about it, because ITFC women, Seb, won 8-0 at the weekend. Natasha almost got 4 goals. They are going great guns. Lucy O'Brien making her return as well from injury, got an assist, I think, or at least 2, maybe a 2 assist as well. So that's really great to see. They've got a weekend off. They were supposed to play Cheltenham again in the League Cup, but Cheltenham told them before the game, it wasn't after the game, that they didn't fancy the trip back up. So ITFC women have got a weekend off, so we can focus all of our attention on the men's team and Huddersfield, where it's a little bit of change, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So it's all changing of the guard. The legend that is Neil Warnock has moved on. I'm sure come January, February time, his phone will ring and someone will offer him to come out of retirement for the 6th or 7th time, whatever it's going to be. But he's shuffled off from the McAlpine, and Darren Moore, a familiar friend / adversary from last year, has gone in there. And yeah, 2 years ago they were riding high. They finished 3rd in the league and battled with Forest in the playoff final. They lost that game, obviously, and since then it's been kind of a bit of a drop down the table. And Warnock had to come in last year to save them. He's moved on. Is it a big job for? Well, we'd say Darren Moore's one of football's nicest characters, I would say. Is it big shoes to fill? It's a big job to go into. He's got a bit of a tough gig there, I think.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Darren Moore in a bit. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting situation with Huddersfield. We'll talk about the recruitment as well in the summer. That was a bit challenging, and maybe a factor in Warnock's departure. I think he wanted more money, and was promised a budget, and it turned out it was a budget not only for transfers but actually for new contracts for players as well. But there's some threats in this team as well. They are 17th at the moment, as you say, and we'll talk about the kind of the form and the situation there at the moment. But this new manager bounce is something that we need to be wary of. Coventry obviously experienced that to an extent on Monday, although early days. It was not really a game of 2 halves. I didn't think Coventry were particularly good, and they're struggling a little bit, which is a surprise given all of their recruitment. But Moore definitely tweaked something at half time. There was a change of system as well. So it's one where, I don't want to say the word banana skin because it's a tough league, isn't it? But there's lots of question marks and variables there that, we need to be on our game to make sure we to get that result. Give us kind of a rundown of how the season has gone under Warnock so far.
Well, as you said, they're currently sat 17th in the league with 9 points from the 8 games played. They've won 2, drawn 3, lost 3, only scored 9 goals, so certainly not prolific, conceded 13. The home form, obviously relevant for us going there on the weekend, is 4 points from 4 games. They've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 2, only scored 4 goals at home and conceded 7. Recent form is reasonable. They're 4 unbeaten with 2 draws, 2 wins, and a defeat in the last 5 games. Neil Warnock signed off with a 2-2 at home to Stoke. Did you see that the Stoke fans giving him grief and he just waved at them in the last minute?
He loves that.
Yeah, so he signed off. Darren Moore came in, and like you said, he started his kind of reign at Huddersfield on Monday night with an away game at Coventry. Got a pretty decent 1-1 draw. Just don't lose in your first game as a manager going in. Like you said, he changed things.
He loves a last minute goal, doesn't he, Darren?
He does. His last 3 games, obviously, were that one in the 94th minute. The playoff final was 124th minute, and obviously the playoff semi-final was 95 minutes or something. So yeah, he's had a bit of drama in his last 3 games, hasn't he? But yeah, a solid point away from home, and he'll also be looking to build on that going into this weekend.
And a lot of people predictions and weren't particularly optimistic. It was kind of the Warnock effect would kind of maybe offset a little bit of the deficiencies in the squad. Talk to us about last season, which was a little bit of a struggle.
Well, in the preseason that you, me, and Gab did, I had them to survive. But I'll be honest, that was basically based on the fact that Warnock was there. I would probably revisit that now he's moved on. Last season, they finished 18th with 53 points. They finished 9 clear of the relegation spots in the end. They win their last 3 games of the season, which gets them across the line. It's one of these clubs like we've spoken about with the last few weeks with managerial turmoil throughout the season. They have 3 different managers. Danny Schofield starts the season. He gets sacked after 9 games. Mark Fotheringham comes in. He takes 21 games between September and February. He then gets sacked with the club. I think they were 23rd, 1 point off safety. Neil Warnock came in. He does what Neil Warnock does. Obviously, he returned to the club 28 years after leaving them to move on to Plymouth. They were 23rd when he took over. He won 7 of the final 15 games, including 2 3-game winning runs, which could be crucial when you're down there. To get 9 points on the bounce when you're at that level, when you're in those kind of relegation scraps, can be absolutely crucial. And he sees them safe. And it was only meant to be a short-term deal to the end of the season. There's a takeover in the summer. A new American owner comes in, and he signs I think it was a 1-year deal for this year. And yeah, I guess he clearly expected to be there a lot longer than getting past game week 7. He's done some stuff in the press where apparently there was a plan. If they could find a long-term kind of appointment, they would look to bring him in, and Neil would naturally step aside. But I think even he said it came a bit early. He was expecting it to be kind of December, January time. And yeah, read into that what you will.
Should we skip forward and talk about Darren Moore then, before we kind of talk about the history against us? We know Darren Moore pretty well. He's actually got not too bad a record as a manager against us, but has some unfortunate moments. His last game in charge of Doncaster, his last game in charge of West Brom came against us. That game for Doncaster was the only defeat actually he's experienced as a manager against us. And obviously last season we couldn't defeat his Sheffield Wednesday team, albeit we probably should have at least at Hillsborough. Yeah. A good guy, clearly a motivator and a galvanizer. But I think probably entertainer, sessions. But probably the big question marks there. Neil Warnock is not too dissimilar. He's a galvanizer. He's a character, isn't he? He's going to build a dressing room and try and get that team spirit up. Despite maybe the odds being against them. Probably that's the big question mark for me, is whether Darren Moore can do that. It's not his squad. He hasn't got a transfer window for another few months. Clearly had some level of impact at Coventry, but you wonder whether this is kind of the early new manager kind of bounce situation where the players want to make an impression, or whether Darren Moore has got some alchemy there and has figured out a strategy. Because I wasn't a massive fan of him at Sheffield Wednesday. I never really thought it was a fit. He went on this unbelievable record, didn't he? And
yeah,
but once it went wrong, when it went wrong, he didn't really show a huge amount of tactical acumen for me to try and change things. And really, the Peterborough game was great, but it was sheer force of will rather than being tactically good, wasn't it? Hillsborough's, we know, is a fearsome place to go for anyone. Yeah. So you can throw all caution to the wind in the second leg against Peterborough, but to me they kind of fell across the line. Clearly, he's been really classy about the situation with Sheffield Wednesday and the parting of ways there. But the big question, and I think it's what Huddersfield fans are kind of asking themselves, is he the man who's going to keep them away from the relegation zone in the Championship, which is it's a pretty tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, there were times, weren't they, in the home game, the 2-2, where we were in such ascendancy and Moore didn't seem to change anything. So I guess you have to question: is he capable tactically, the same kind of level that maybe a Warnock, more of an old school manager, might make several changes within game? Do you remember, like when Mick was in charge of us and we'd see 4 or 5 different systems throughout a 90-minute period as he would tweak things in game? Is Moore going to give you that? He's clearly, everyone thinks of him as being one of the nicest people in football. I think he deserves real credit for that turnaround in the playoff semi as well. I know you said it was force of will and Hillsborough a cauldron, but even straight after the final whistle at London Road, he was calm about the situation, said we need to look this through, we need to regroup. And I think that calming influence can have a really positive effect on on players and stuff. He's a galvanizer, like you said. He'll look to bring together the club. He did a pretty good job of that with Wednesday. Across the 2 seasons, his record was really, really impressive. The points per game was amazing. And as we know, last year, 96 points probably wins you the league any other season. So I think he deserves credit for that. I guess the question marks would be, he couldn't keep West Brom in the Premier League, albeit somewhat unlucky. Didn't really have much of a stab at that. Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, he couldn't keep them up, but again, there was a point deduction, wasn't there? So there are kind of
as well.
Mitigating circumstances at Derby away on the last day and a points deduction thrown in there. So it's a challenge for him. I'm glad he's got a chance to go to a Championship club. I think he deserves it after last season, and we wish him well, because he is he always comes across such a classy person, such a nice person, and hopefully he'll do well for them. But it's a big ask, I think, because when you go through the squad, we'll discuss some of the players in a bit. It's not a squad linked with quality, is it? I guess last year, if things aren't working, he can rely on a moment of magic from Barry Bannon, can't he? Whereas Barry Bannon. He plays for Sheffield Wednesday.
Okay.
He's he's a central midfielder.
Didn't see
I
him
think
a few
Sky.
weeks ago. Sorry, keep going.
No, I think Sky have mentioned him once or twice in their coverage of Wednesday over the last few months or so. But yeah, so is he going to have that kind of player which he can fall back on if things aren't working out in that squad? I'm not sure, but wish him well because I do like him. I'm really glad he's got a good championship gig.
Yeah, and clearly he had an impact, as we said, on Monday night at Coventry. Let's talk about our history and some of the interactions with us. I do have a commentary quiz, by the way, this week. It has returned, so I will do that in a second. But give us the history. I mean, before we say anything, whenever we talk about Huddersfield, we have to talk about Marcus Stewart.
Yeah.
So I've just said it. I mean, what more can we say that hasn't already been said about Marcus Stewart? Legend, my favourite Ipswich Town player, probably your second favourite Ipswich Town player.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
Jono fan. Obviously, so Johnson one for me, Stewart number two, just absolute class. I still don't understand. I know it's 23 years later. I still can't understand why Huddersfield would possibly have sold him to us, given the position we were in and the position they were in. But yeah, absolutely amazing player. And obviously, wish him all the best with his health issues at the moment.
Yeah, but there's a flip reverse for that as well, isn't there? Because Jordan Rhodes is a player with connections for both teams as well, isn't he? And
yeah,
they probably got a little bit of revenge on us for that one.
Yes, potentially. Yeah, I mean, the overall record between the two sides is we've got the overall kind of the better of the two. 22 ITFC wins, 9 draws, 14 Huddersfield wins. Huddersfield have won the last couple. I was doing what I always do for this, where I look at the last games between the two, and I don't know if it's my age or if it's just a blank spot in my ITFC history, but I have no recollection of either game the last time we faced them. It was the 2016-2017 season. We lose 2-0 at the McAlpine in January. Izzy Brown and Christian Schindler score the goals. ITFC gave debuts to Kiefer Moore and Jordan Spence. What a time to be a fan. And then earlier the game in the season, back in the start of the year, 2016 in Pullman Road, we lose 1-0 again. Christian Schindler scored again. And ITFC, Huddersfield went top that day, and we were on a run of 2 wins in 11. So yeah, good times, but I couldn't tell you anything. My brain is a bit weird. I can remember random football stuff from years, like the Michael Owen commentary we referred to 20 minutes ago, but I have absolutely no recollection of either of those games at all. Do you?
No, not at all. The only one that I can think of, and I remember you going to it, didn't Paul Anderson score a worldie at Huddersfield?
Worldy, yeah, that must have been 2014-ish, 2-0. I think Murphy scored as well. And yeah, Paul Anderson cuts inside onto his left foot and absolutely bends one into the top corner. It was an absolutely great hit. I think that was the year we finished just outside the playoffs.
Yeah. Should we do the quiz? I want you to, I mean, I won't say too much more because it's.
Do I say what it is out loud, or do you wait for later on?
We'll give it a gap. We'll let people put their thinking caps on. I want to know the game, the season and the score, and the kind of any other work, any other extra credit you want as well for it. So here we go. Apologies if it's loud. It shouldn't be. Let's see.
Clapham tangling with Gore. Here's Brown. Is working well down that left-hand side with Jamie Clapham. Holland, and now Scowcroft. Goal number 13 for the season for James Scowcroft.
Yeah, I want to know the fixture, any others, the season, and any other exciting things that people want to have. And we'll come back to that. I'll give you the answer in a bit. But any other Ipswich Huddersfield memories you want to share, Seb?
No, the last win there at the what is it now? It's not the McAlpine anymore. John Smith, that's it. No, it's the John Smiths, isn't it? Well, I know it's the McAlpine, but yeah, the last win at the John Smiths was when Ben Pringle scored the winning goal. Do you remember him on loan from Charlton? I want to say he scored the winning goal in February 2016. So the season before the two games we've just discussed, that was our last win there, a 1-0 win. Eric Clacton there has mentioned Colin Quainer. Yeah, what a signing he was. Did all right, to be fair. 4 goals, I guess, in a really crap side. I was at Bolton when he scored twice, and he gave me one smile that season.
Yeah, we scored that winner at Leeds, at home to Leeds as well.
Oh, of course, in the last minute, wasn't it? Yeah, of course. And we thought League One would be a fun 9 months.
We did. Well, let's go back to Huddersfield then. Let's talk about this team and maybe some of the key men, the key names. In terms of arrivals, one name that jumps out for me is a player I bloody love. Rotherham had these really quality central midfielders under Paul Warden. Dan Barlaser was one. Ben Wiles was another. He's now at Huddersfield, Seb.
Yeah, joined on a free transfer. Links to us in the summer as well, I think. Yeah, you went into Huddersfield, and that's a good bit of business. Like you say, he's a decent player at Rotherham, and he's got He's gone in there. Tom Edwards is coming on loan from Stoke. He's a right back. Chris Maxwell is kind of the reserve goalkeeper coming on a free from Blackpool. And Delano Burzog is coming on loan from Mainz. He's kind of a left winger, but he's been filling in up front recently. So no fees paid this summer. Read into Mr. Warnock's departure what you will with the transfer strategy. And I guess throughout the summer, they were desperate for a striker, weren't they? Desperate for a number 9, a proper out-and-out striker, given the imbalance of the squad. And I guess but the fact they we'll discuss the departures in a minute.
Let's do it now.
To let Jordan Rhodes go on loan to Blackpool, scored a hat-trick last weekend, and to let Tyree Simpson go on loan to Northampton, that to me would suggest that, well, either it's wage issues and you've got to shed some cash off the books, player attitudes, maybe, I don't know, but you wouldn't let 2 strikers, especially Jordan Rhodes. I know he's not the player he was, but, experience can play, lead the line very well at this level. I'm surprised you'd let those kind of players walk out the door without having a body ready to come in. So that one surprised me a little bit. The other bit of business in the summer, the key departure was Etienne Kamara, who went to Udinese for £2 million. So expect to see him at Watford at some point in the next 18 months, I would guess.
But that money wasn't really spent, was it?
No money spent. They, I guess Rhodes would still have been on a fairly decent wage, but then he's gone to Blackpool, so I can't imagine they'd be covering that much in at League One level. So it's a strange one to let those people kind of walk out the door without bringing in tailor-made replacements. But that might have been part of the argument between Neil Warnock and the ownership, I guess.
Well, let's talk about what Darren Moore's got available at his disposal. That it was we keep talking every week that most teams at this level have kind of got a variation of the 4-2-3-1 system that we like to play, but it was a 3, wasn't it? I think Moore started with a 3. I don't know if it ended as a 3 on Monday night, but maybe that's the way he goes, you think?
Well, he did it at Sheffield Wednesday, didn't he? So, Warnock was a 4-2-3-1 for most of this season. He played a back 3 once. He actually played the back 3 last season on quite a few occasions to quite a lot of success. But we know that, Darren Moore likes a 3 at the back system. It's what we saw at League One level, and it's what he went with on Monday night against Cov. We could, there might be defensive, there might be injury issues in that. They're missing a couple of players. They're very light up front at the moment, which we'll come on to and discuss with their kind of squad availability issues. But he's changed it to a back 3 straight away. Went a lot more direct, I noticed, in the second half against Coventry to try and bypass their press. So given how intense we are at pressing, don't be surprised if they start going long out from the back. And just a note on 2 of the centre halves. I mean, they're kind of, Neil Warnock will like big physical players throughout his side, but their 2 centre backs, Michael Hellick and Matthew Pearson, are both 6'3", so expect a bit of a battle at that back 3 as well.
Yeah, a good game for George Hurst, who I thought didn't get any protection from the referee on Tuesday against Wolves. I know that we were debating it in the Telegram, and our mate Sean was suggesting that Hurst likes a little bit of a grab and a backing him, but not all of those, I think, were. I think he should have got a little bit more protection. So it'll be interesting to see how he copes with them, assuming it is George Hurst, and I don't see why it wouldn't be. We kind of no surprises really about the style of play, Seb, either.
No, not so far under Warnock. It might change under Darren Moore, but so far, 231 short passes per game is the second lowest in the league. 78 long balls so far this season is the highest in the league. 7 successful crosses per game is the highest in the league as well. So Warnock-style football, get the crosses in, get the ball forward. Don't worry too much about ticky-tacky at the back. And under Darren Moore, Sheffield Wednesday, a lot of their stats for kind of passing accuracy and short passes were kind of 10th, 11th, 12th in the league last year, whereas they obviously finished 3rd. So it's not a side like us who are looking to, control possession and kind of move things around quickly with short passing styles. It can be very much get the ball kind of back to front quickly and get the front men and the wide players involved.
Yep. Just a correction. Thank you to the folks in the chat. Hello to Josh. Wiles was bought on an undisclosed fee. It wasn't.
I thought it was a free. Oh, my mistake. I thought it was a free.
So thank you, Josh, for
sometimes the research will be false.
Well, we always say that this is a bit of a crowdsourcing situation here. So if we do go wrong, let us know. But a fee spent, and maybe it was some of that £2 million. Some key players, some names. There's some familiar names in there as well. Josh Caroma is a name that jumps out for me. Should we focus on the key men, Seb? Because there's only 2 really that I wanted to talk about. One was Jack Redoni. I'll give a bit of detail on him, but Sorba Thomas probably the one that jumps out. You mentioned the 7 successful crosses per game being the highest in the league. I suspect they are all by him, aren't they?
Yeah, I would presume so. He was the star man a couple of years ago, wasn't he, when they went on that kind of playoff run? He didn't start against Coventry. I guess in a three at the back system, he's kind of a winger / inside forward. In the three at the back system, he's got to play a wing back role to kind of utilize his talents. And I guess maybe the defensive side of the game isn't what he wants to be doing. But I'd say he's their key man. He did come on, have quite a decent effect. He was a constant threat on Monday night, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if he comes in and starts on Saturday. He's got 1 goal, 2 assists so far this season. He's got the 3rd highest expected assists in the Championship per 90 minutes so far. As I said, he was the star man a couple of years ago. He got 11 assists that season, the year they finished 3rd and lost to Forest in the playoffs. And I think he'll certainly feature on Saturday. But if I was a betting man, I would expect him to start against us.
I'd be starting him. He's there. Jacob Powley did some research for us about every team ahead of the season, and we picked out Sorba Thomas as their threat. Yeah. And weird stuff like this. Blackburn, who we obviously know very well from last week, near the playoffs, scored quite a lot of goals last season. They took Sorba Thomas on loan from Huddersfield for the second half of the season, and he was their top assist maker with 8. So that tells you all about Sorba Thomas. I like Jack Rudoni. I thought he was really excellent on Monday night at Coventry. Actually got stuck in, gets involved. Maybe needs to. Yeah, he's got 2 goals so far this season, no assists though, but can play anywhere kind of in that central midfield situation there. Maybe drops deeper, or can even push on, and definitely had a kind of a bit of a free role there. Folk might remember him from his time at AFC Wimbledon, but yeah, he scored 4 goals in his Huddersfield career so far, but half of those have been scored in the 8 games so far this season. So he's definitely one to watch out and look out for. Only 22. I quite like him. Bustling central midfielder. I'm not sure who I could compare him to. But yeah, those are probably the 2 to look out for. Anyone else? That Danny Ward is probably another name that folk might remember, striker.
Yeah,
he's a doubt.
Yeah, he's got an Achilles problem, so he's kind of 50-50 as to whether or not he'll feature or so. Just one note, forgive me, my script has deleted the poor kid's name, but they have a 6'9" striker on the bench who they brought on against Coventry at the weekend. It's Kyle something, forgive me. But he's, if it's not going their way, expect to see the 6'9" lad thrown on towards the end to act as a bit of a focal point up front.
Let me see if I can help you out there with the name, because
it's H. Carl Hatton, Carl Heighton, something.
Kian Harrott.
That's
Carl
Hudlin.
Carl
Hudlin, I'm sure it is. Yeah, 6'9". He's an absolute giant. So if the game's not going well, he's relatively young, played in non-league most of his career so far. So if the game isn't going well, then yeah, they'll throw him on to launch the ball forward.
Set piece danger. Yes, exactly right. Any other bits and pieces you want to deal with Huddersfield?
I don't think so. No, just the normal roundup of stats that prove they're kind of where they are. The 4 goals scored at home is the joint 4th worst in the league. 38.8 possession is the 5th lowest. They don't keep the ball. They don't score that many goals. The passing accuracy is atrocious. 64.8% is the worst in the league. They're strong in the air, as you would expect from a Warnock side, and as you would expect with 6'9" kids on the bench and 6'3" centre backs. 22 aerials is the third best in the league, and their 4th dribbles per game is the lowest in the league. That surprised me a little bit with Sorba Thomas, because I kind of remember him as a winger that likes to take people on. So I was surprised at that one, but yeah, a lot of the stats are kind of relegation zone territory, which is where most of us kind of thought they might end up if Warnock couldn't produce a miracle.
Yeah. Let's finish off with the commentary quiz then. We've got a few punts in here. Get them in quite now. Philip Blunder's going for 98 or 99. FPL Tractor has gone 99 2000. Huddersfield at home.
That wasn't 3-1 though, was it? That wasn't 3-1.
And here's Dave Diamond.
Yeah.
Lingering in the chat like a ninja with suggesting a 2-1 Stuart's home debut. And then FPL concedes that he might be right.
Yeah.
And I think that is, well, certainly it's correct, everyone. And I thought I would share the Marcus Stewart goal as well, just because Seb bloody loves it. And the moment everything changed. Didn't Jono miss a penalty?
He missed a penalty. So? Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to bring that. Yeah, he missed a penalty.
So here's
Magilton bottled it. Magilton waved him away. Magilton was meant to take it. Isn't this weird how my brain works? I remember Magilton was tying his shoelaces and kept going like that for somebody else to take it. And Johnson, being the man he was, grabbed the ball and took responsibility, and then promptly decided to miss it. Yeah.
Let's have a look at the commentary goal and the moment that followed it.
Clapham tangling with Gore. Here's Brown, is working well down that left-hand side with Jamie Clapham. Holland! And now Scowcroft! Goal number 13 for the season for James Scowcroft. Here's Clapham. Now Stewart. Oh yes, Marcus Stewart. It just had to happen. It had to happen. Marcus Stewart against his old club.
Such a good goal by Stewart, isn't it?
Drink it in. Yeah, no
the way he
backlift on
finds
it.
the space, the touch he takes to kill the ball, and then to find the bottom corner. Yeah, absolute class. At that point, I think we knew, because obviously he'd scored the weekend before, hadn't he, away at Barnsley, but that was an away game, so not many of us had seen that. But yeah, I think at that point we knew, wow, we've really got one here.
Not many instances of, because Huddersfield were hunting for a playoff spot as well.
Yeah,
They had a huge drop off after Stewart left, but it's rare that you see championship teams, second tier teams, sell their best player to a rival.
I remember after he scored that goal, we would have been about 20,000 in Portman Road at that time. Started singing "Thank You Very Much" for Marcus Stewart, the old Quality Street advert theme tune to the Huddersfield fans. It was brilliant.
Yeah, that's maybe a bit of a sliding doors moment for Huddersfield, but for the wrong reasons. Let's talk about us, Seb. The big debate is who replaces Morsey. I don't feel any the wiser after Tuesday night. What's your take?
No, yeah. I mean, logically, if you want a most direct replacement positionally, Lee Evans is the one to come in, isn't he? You know, he plays slightly deeper. He won't be the all-action snapping around like Morsey is, but he'll be positionally disciplined. Or do you shift Luongo across to that role? Huh?
He'll be what?
Positionally disciplined.
Okay.
Well, you shift Luongo across that role and bring in Jack Taylor. You know, Taylor, I thought, struggled to get into the game against Southampton. I thought his touch was off a little bit and he wasn't really at it, but then he unleashes that absolute worldie on Tuesday night. But in his role, he's more, well, at Peterborough, he was a box-to-box. McKenna's spoken about, you know, him kind of pushing forward and getting involved in the attacking third. So it's an interesting one because that will rely on Luongo taking the disciplined role, which I think Luongo could probably do. No problem at all. What would you do? How was Evans on Tuesday night?
I didn't think he was able to make as strong a contribution as I think he was probably hoping. You know, we know that Evans likes to drop in and spray those diagonal balls, which he's really good at. And maybe that, you know, maybe that is an option for us against Huddersfield. I don't know, to, you know, bring the likes of Burns into the game and Broadhead maybe a little bit as well. But I just kind of think that Taylor kind of deserves it for the worldie. It sounds weird.
Yeah. And we spent big money on him. So, you know, there was a 3-game week and he got some minutes against Southampton. He wasn't great. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, is he going to get his second chance?
The only question about for me, and you've kind of alluded to it, is the leadership aspect. Obviously, Morsey as a player is kind of an 8 out of 10 every week, as we know, but is also a leader on the pitch, sets an example, drags everyone's standards up. Is Taylor ready to do that job? I'm not so sure. Is Lee Evans maybe more fitted to that aspect?
Yeah, well, Lee Evans was the captain when Paul Cook signed him, wasn't he? Before Morsey joined, those, what was it, half a dozen games before Morsey entered the building. Lee Evans was the captain, and he kind of has assumed that role when he's played in the cup games. He's kind of I don't know if it's officially the vice captain, but he's kind of unofficially adopted that role. He's probably more vocal, he's more experienced than Jack Taylor. But I guess you'll be looking at Luongo on the weekend, wanting to fill that role and demand the standards. And, you know, if Lee Evans doesn't play, I wouldn't be surprised if Luongo takes the captaincy. You know, he was so good last week. He's just got better and better ever since he's been here. And if he was captain, I would expect him to be the one to kind of, you know, drive those standards from the middle of the park, snap into people if they're not at the same level, maybe not to the same degree that Morsey does, but really look to, like you say, drive the quality, drive the standards, and be McKenna's got an on-field general. It's an interesting one what he'll do. I mean, Don Ball could play there as well. I'd be surprised. I think he's more now.
Ball, but right back, he was right back on Tuesday.
Yeah, he's more now seen, isn't he, as kind of a right-sided centre half or a right back. I can't remember the last time he featured in central midfield. Even in these cup games, he's been playing right back with Danassian's injury. But he's an option as well. So it's good to have these options. I think if I had to call it right now, I think being in a away game, he might go Evans and Luongo.
Okay, but the thoughts in the chat generally going for Taylor. We shall see. Michael quite rightly says missing Morsey will tell us a lot about the team. Obviously,
true.
We talked about the challenges that the team have faced in coming. You know, we haven't mentioned the word adversity, but the players are mentioning it now, aren't they? And they're running towards adversity. But Wolves and, you know, dropping a 2-0 lead, a 2-goal lead to Blackburn was definitely some adversity, wasn't it? So it'll be interesting to see how we deal with that. Rob quite rightly talks about Leaf should be available. Leaf Davis should be available. Medical team must be miracle workers. He's twice finished matches looking like he could be out for weeks, but here we are.
What a relief that is, because we all feared the worst, didn't we? Sheffield Wednesday away, the way he went down, and people were really, really fearing the worst because he's absolutely crucial. I know we brought in Brandon Williams, a Premier League player.
Williams was excellent on Tuesday.
Yeah, he's getting better, isn't he? More and more, the more he plays, the fitter he gets. He's getting sharper and sharper, and he's come from a Premier League academy. So he's a good understudy, but Davis is so crucial to the way we play, and you've got that set-piece threat as well. And to have him back on the grass, and featuring so soon after that injury, which looked pretty bad, is, a huge testament to the medical team.
And no other, obviously, we're another three-game week. We've got Hull on Tuesday, Preston next week. Any other rotation that you might envisage with those games in mind?
I guess it will do something, won't he? Maybe with I guess Hull and Preston are going to be difficult games given the way they're kind of started the season. If you look on paper at the table, this is the Huddersfield game is the easiest one of the three, given where they are in the league. But the Darren Moore factor of a new manager and his opening game at the stadium does kind of caveat that a little bit. I assume we'll see some kind of rotational stuff. Maybe Davis can't do the 3 weeks. We've spoken about Burns recently. Maybe he can't do the 3-game weeks, or Broadhead tends to struggle a little bit in those kind of 3-game weeks as well. So maybe Hutchison in for Broadhead on Tuesday night against Hull, and Broadhead back in for the game against Preston at the weekend.
Sure. Yep. And we're maybe seeing Christian Walton next week as well. So
and Tuan Zabi, apparently they're both going to be available for selection. So I assume Walton will be back on the bench for Hull and Preston, maybe as their backup sub-keeper. And then at some point there's going to be a decision made. What would you do? What's your opinion on the Hladky Walton debate? I've seen a lot of it on social media. Is it Hladky's shirt to lose? Is Walton the established number one? What would you do?
I'm not going to make a lot of friends by saying this, but I'd put Walton straight back in goal.
Okay, so you and me agree. I would do the same. Yeah,
I think Hladky has been excellent and has done more than, in terms of our expectations of what might have been the situation, based on what we knew about him previously. It was a risk, wasn't it? But he's definitely proven that he's capable. I love how he basically camps out when we're in an attacking phase. He's basically camped out on the halfway line. Definitely, in terms of possession, has been a really key contributor to that. We saw that with the third goal. Obviously, it starts from him passing out the back, despite a few people having shitting a brick when he was doing it. But I think some of the communication with the defence, some of the command of the area has not been as good as what we've had with Christian Walton in the past. And for that reason, I think Walton is generally the better keeper as well. But we now know we've got a more than capable deputy in Hladky, and he'll probably play at Fulham, won't he, against Fulham? And
do you think that's why he started? Do you think that's why he started against Wolves, Hladky? As kind of,
I think maybe it was because of Slicker's inexperience against the Premier League teams. Probably what I thought, but
fair enough.
Yeah,
I read it as.
Let's know in the chat. It's an interesting debate, isn't it? I mean, you're suggesting Walton as well, yeah?
I think so. I think how good he was last season. It's his ability to come out and claim the ball from corners. That his aerial ability, his vocal. I think we might lose something in terms of. I don't think he'll be on the halfway line like Hladky is. Looking to start things off straight away. I don't think that's maybe naturally his game, but he's been so good for us for the 18 months, apart from a dodgy spell of a month or so maybe in the winter of last season. I think he's the established number one. We all went into panic mode on the eve of the season when it was revealed to be out for a couple of months, and for me, comes back in. Hladky, chuffed he's had this opportunity, really happy for him because he came in under difficult circumstances, didn't he? Under Paul Cook, he had no consistency in front of him in the defence, and he kind of looked nervous as hell and dropped out. So really pleased he's had this 10-12 games run, and like you say, we now know we've got an absolutely brilliant understudy who, if anything does happen to Walton in the future, then can come straight back in. Pleased for him, but Walton for me is the number one.
Yeah, I think the chat, David, Rob, Colin, Michael, there's definitely a sense, I think, that we want Steve as well, Walton to return there. So we should wait and see. And obviously, Kieran McKenna is the best placed to make that decision as well. So we shall see. But yeah, as FPL Tractor says, I'd have Walton, but there's no need to rush him back.
I presume it'll be maybe on the bench for one of the games next week at Portman Road, and then it's the international break. So maybe you look to start him in the first game after that, which must be Rotherham, I assume. Yeah,
maybe so. Yeah, it's a good call. We will go to predictions next. So give us your thoughts on predictions for Huddersfield v Ipswich and any other games that are happening this weekend. Worth noting, as always, we're brought to you in partnership with the Greyhound. Excellent pre-match venue. We will be there in big numbers next Saturday, ahead of Blue Monday live at Portman Road after the Preston game. Our mate Gab Sutton will be down and I think joining us for a bit of pre-match. You'll be down as well, won't you, Seb, in advance of the big one in the evening? So, yeah, next Saturday will be a fun one. We'll be having an enjoyable pre-match at the Greyhound. We'll be watching Preston, a top of the table clash. Not sure anyone was predicted that this summer. And then Blue Monday Live, and you can still get your tickets for Blue Monday Live with Luke Chambers. Happy birthday, the day we record Luke Chambers' birthday. Ipswich legend, and we're so delighted to welcome him to the live event. He'll give us his views on Preston, and he'll give us his views on his Ipswich Town career and footballing career, and he'll be answering your questions as well. So that, along with seeing the team, Ben, Dave, Seb and I think Craig should make it, Joe might make it, and Mikey as well. We'll all be there. Hang out with us after the game. We're in BT's bar for extended
opening hours, so you don't need to leave. There's no need to go into town and find something to eat and come back. You can just stay at Portman Road all the way through. We'll start slightly earlier than last time, and it'll be a great evening. So yeah, come and see us for a night of drinks, football chat, the legend that is Luke Chambers telling stories. It'll be absolutely brilliant.
Yep. And if you want to head out and get some food, that's also fine as well. You can head back into the Sir Bobby Robson suite after the game as well at 7ish. We start at 7:30. Tickets are a tenner plus fees. They're not a couple of quid. Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk for the tickets link, or our socials. I think if you're on YouTube, you can find it in the chat as well. But we're really excited. We've got a lot of stuff planned, games and all sorts. But it's just a great opportunity, Seb, to hang out with Ipswich fans, hopefully off the back of a positive week and hopefully a win for the first time in 3 attempts of one of our events. But just good to have a natter, and Chamber will be great, won't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Can't wait. Has it been 2 1-1s, hasn't it? The Will Keane last minute equaliser for the Stoke game in 2019, and then 1-1 against Cheltenham. Was it last year? I think maybe. Yeah, was it the one game where Kamara hits the post in the last minute or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, so Dave, quite rightly, and I said this myself. Kamara's chance that hit the post and Luongo's goal against Blackburn, exactly identical situations. Luongo gets it on target. So, yeah, that was good hark back to the dark days of Cheltenham. So, yeah, do join us there. If you want a discount as well, join our Telegram group. You can have a free trial for a couple of weeks. We'll be none the wiser. And then you can hopefully hang around maybe afterwards on Telegram. But yeah, do join us for that. Flagship Show, we're back Sunday night. Ben in the host chair. Dave and Craig are both travelling up to Huddersfield, so they'll give their first-hand views of the game. And yeah, 3-game week next week, as we mentioned. So
9
Huddersfield,
points. Night's easy these days.
There you go. Colin's already got in there for you. So Colin's already called it.
9 points.
The score. But you and Michael will be back after Hull on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And I will run up Spring Road and be really sweaty and give you my take from inside the ground. And then we will have a podcast next Sunday. Might be a bit of a skeleton crew, but obviously we've got the live event on Saturday night. But we'll do some Preston chat next Sunday as well, usual time. And as always, thank you to everyone who's joined us in the chat. It's really bubbly and busy as you'd expect at the moment. Do give us a thumbs up whilst you're here on YouTube. It does make a massive difference for us. And if you are listening on podcast afterwards, do give us a 5-star review. Give us a written review if you fancy as well. But the 5 stars really make a difference as well. So thank you everyone for your support. Numbers are great at the moment. Long may that continue. It's a suggestion that things are going in the right way on the pitch as well. Let's do some predictions, Seb. And I won't linger on this. It's too long, but I won last week by 3 points, courtesy of a West Brom 0, Millwall 0 prediction. That's how you want to win these days. It's kind of like score.
You may have won, but what's the overall score?
So you still have a 6-point lead. Yeah, you had that good 12-point week where Ben screwed me over. No, you didn't.
There it is.
So yeah, me and Jules struggling a little bit behind, but I'm winning on rounds. You're winning on points. So let's see how things might change this weekend. Any games that you want to pick out?
Well, I got excited with when I was doing the list for them, I got excited with the first two, thinking, it's going to be a weekend of big fixtures. But then after those first 2 games, it kind of dropped right off for me. So obviously, Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland's on telly tomorrow night. I mean, if Isco Munoz doesn't get a result there, surely Chanzuri's going to fire him, isn't he? He can't be long for this world if he can't get a result there. I've gone for a Sunderland victory. I've gone for a 2-0. We all agree that's going to be the case. We've all predicted that Wednesday won't score again. And then Southampton, where do they go from here? Invested heavily in Russell Martin and bought in all his philosophy, and he's kind of a long-term project, not a short-term fix to get you back to the Premier League. He's got informed Leeds coming to town, which is just what you want when you're on a dodgy run of form. And we've all gone for relatively high scoring. Me and is it Jules again for Telegram this week?
Yep.
Me and Jules have gone for 3-1 victories. You've gone for a 3-2, but we're all predicting Leeds to add yet more pressure onto Russell Martin there.
Yeah, that could be that's the 2 early games are kind of like who's going to get sacked first, isn't it?
Yeah.
The international break is looming as well, so these guys have got maybe a week to save their jobs, haven't they? In terms of other games, Hull Plymouth's an interesting one. Obviously, Plymouth off the back of that 6-6-6-6-2 win.
That was brilliant. It got higher and higher and higher. That was great.
So it'll be, and obviously they're the opposition on Tuesday night as well. Norwich return to home, hoping for an improvement in their form, but we're not. Jules has predicted a Norwich win. Jules,
I've never thought I'd see the day Jules does that.
Jules, have a look at yourself, and never mind. But otherwise, as you say, Blackburn Leicester might be a bit of a goal fest. I've gone for a 2-2 draw. You've got Leicester win there, as has Jules. That's on Sunday. But the main event, and I think Darren Moore is going to contrive to do something annoying against us. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Seb, give me your working on your 1-0 victory for Town.
Ipswich Town win 1-0 away from home. That was the sole basis of my working. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. No, I just think it'll be a tight game.
Sample.
Well, yeah, it'll be a tight game, and I understand what you're saying, but I just think our quality will shine through. Sometimes a 1-0 can be, it can look on paper as being a bit of a, holding on, grind out result, but I think it might be a bit more like the Sheffield Wednesday one, where it's pretty comfortable in all honesty, given they're pretty blunt in attack. I would suggest not great at home. I understand that new manager bounce, Darren Moore and all that, but I just think that McKenna will outcoach him like he does most weeks these days, and Morsey missing will be a big blow. Is that factored into your thinking as well?
A little bit, actually. Yeah, Darren Moore's got a bit of a hoodoo over Kieran McKenna as well, but then so did Sheffield Wednesday until a few weeks back as well. But yeah, I just think it was more of a reflection of it's Darren Moore's first game at Huddersfield, and I just think sometimes the ground, the atmosphere, the emotion sometimes gets teams over the line where normally you wouldn't expect it. If it was a Neil Warnock team, we'd be saying, oh, it's going to be a tough game, but I still expect us to win. And because it's a new manager situation, I just kind of think that new manager bounce effect might come into play. But in terms of us having nothing to fear, I totally get where you're coming from. And if you want an interesting omen, the referee is Jeff Eltringham. He was the referee for the QPR 1-0 win as well. So
okay,
your 1-0 prediction has some logic to it. Jules is going for a 2-1. We'll be back next week to see how we've got on, but let's see what folk are saying in the chat. Plenty of predictions coming in, which is great. Chris is going for a 2-0. Our mate Chris in New Zealand. Stephen's also going for a 2-0. And Chris is predicting a 9-point win. Oh, the confidence is high. Colin's going for a 2-1. We've got a 3-2 from Kev. 1-0 Town. Charlie's agreeing with you, Seb. We've got a 5-2 from John B. There you go. Here's Dave Diamond. Keep the 1-0 away run going. Colin, Norwich 1, Birmingham 9. That's what we want. Hello to Sam, your mate. Hello. Good to have you back with us as well. Dave has quite correctly written 9 in brackets for us if we didn't know that already. I think that, and then finish it off. Rando's going for a 5-0 Town win. That's what we want. Here's an 8-5 from FEO Tractor. The scores keep coming. I think, Seb, they might not be taking it seriously. I don't know about it. David, thank you so much for your support, as always, to the podcast. A super sticker there. We really appreciate that. €3. If you want to do likewise, there is a super chat button in the chat, but we just appreciate you guys being here. A thumbs up on YouTube, we very much appreciate. And thank you to the folks who've given us a thumbs up on Facebook. James, Jason, Justin, Matt, and Stephen. We see you. We love you. We appreciate you. Any more? Matt Makin, there you go. 3-0 Town from Matt. Any other questions from folk? Get them in the chat. We'll do some shout outs before we say goodbye. I've got a question about Darren Moore's first and second game record, Seb. Can you get on your phone and quickly do that one? I pray the kind of bumper out.
I can if you stall for time, yeah.
Like I wanted you to stall for time when you did your "Come on, you Blues" at the end of last week. So we'll be prepared for that. We'll be professional, but let me buy some time for Seb Phillip, and we'll see what we can find out for you. But we'll be back next week to see how we get on with the predictions. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. If you want to shout out, if you've got a question, get them in now. We'll do as many as we can before we say goodbye. Just remember, thank you to the Greyhound for their support. Do join us for Blue Monday Live. It's next weekend. Get your tickets to avoid disappointment after Preston. Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk, or the link in the chat or on our socials. Come and chat with Luke Chambers and all of our podcast team. The Flagship Show will be back Sunday evening, 8 p.m. live. Ben, Dave and Craig doing their best to deconstruct Huddersfield v Ipswich and hopefully a positive win just for Ben's buoyancy. I'm not sure he can get even more buoyant than he was after Blackburn, but we shall see. Hopefully he has cause to on Sunday. And as always, please give us a thumbs up and a review on podcasts if you so wish. Seb, have I bought you enough time, or do you want me to put some more comments up?
No, I think we're good. I think, don't take it as gospel, I think he lost his first game 2-0 to Coventry, who obviously he faced in midweek for a bit of a parallel, and then won his first. Sorry,
who was that?
Sheffield Wednesday, the last club he took charge of. So this is January 2021. Loses 2-0 away at Coventry, and then wins his first home game 1-0 against Preston, I think. So obviously played Coventry midweek, didn't beat them, 1-1 draw, and hopefully the second result won't come true on Saturday.
Yeah. So there you go. A bit of insight. Probably the second game is the one we want, but we'll find that out. We'll tweet it out maybe. So thank you everyone for watching. Sharon, thank you for all the Huddersfield in. Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate that. Thank you, Colin. Got a 4-1 prediction from Paul. There's a lot of confidence there. Michael, thank you for joining us, Michael. All the best from Oz. Yeah, we love that. AD, thanks for joining us as well. Oh, there you go. There's a question for you. Said, where will we finish? David's going straight to it.
In the summer, I said 9th, based on it. I thought we'd flirt with the playoffs till about kind of March, April time and fall away a little bit. Given how we've started and how we're going to get another 9 points this coming week, we'd have to almost have relegation form by the end of that to finish outside the top 6. So I think the playoffs are on their way, I think.
Don't say it out loud. Cheers, Dave. Thanks. I hope you've enjoyed watching on for once. It's quite like, I described it like watching someone else drive your car kind of thing. It must be for Dave when got involved in the podcast, and now we've got the Thursday night show. But Orwellian, Vaz on three yellows. Is there a possible case to get him to 5? Pick up the suspension. Well, there you go. Yeah, a bit of time wasting on Saturday. We shall see. It's an interesting theory there. FPL Tracks with Kieran McKenna managed the UK's Eurovision entry. Would we win?
Yes.
There you go. Thank you, Seb, for your quick phone research. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. David, Rob, appreciate everyone there. Seb, I'm ready with the outro this time, so you can say goodbye to everyone.
I was cursing you when it went to 3-3 against Blackburn. I was cursing you, thinking this is all on you. But thankfully, the Massimo stepped up and spared your blushes.
It doesn't matter anymore. We're just so good.
Enjoy the weekend, guys. Let's keep the run going. Hopefully 9 points coming this week. I'll be at Huddersfield. Mikey's there, Craig's there, Dave's there. So come and say hello to us if you're out and about. I'm not sure what the pre-match venues are, but if you want to come on Telegram, we'll let you know where people are going to be before the game kicks off. It's a great time to be a Town fan. Enjoy it as long as we can. Come on, you Blues.